Daria's gonna do the slides for me.
Yeah, you know what, Mark will go do a few things first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's our call to order. Welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of St. Albert morning meeting number 1484 on November 13th, Friday the 13th. I'm your host, President Mark Dixon, and I'm pleased to recognize our members of our executive, members of our board, fellow Rotarians, and guests. Please rise for the singing of O Canada. Thank you very much for that. And now our inspirational moments, Jerry Featherly. And you're on mute, Jerry.
Well, there we are.
There we go.
Yeah, without thinking of our guest speaker today, my inspiration is all about volunteerism. And what prompted me to do that I received a phone call yesterday from a friend I haven't heard from for a little bit. And we chatted a bit and whatnot. And then he said, so are you still volunteering with the Elks? The Elks Club. So that kind of what prompted me. I'm going to read a little bit here. So there was a study in 1999, and they boiled it down to 6 functions of volunteerism. And I might be corrected by our guest speaker, but they were listed as values, understanding, enhancement, career, social, and protective. A person may volunteer because they feel it's important to help others or to participate in their community. Some volunteers may be motivated to understand more about their community or learn through hands-on experience. Others may volunteer as they feel the work will develop or enhance them as a person and help them to feel better about themselves. Sounds like Rotary. Some people may volunteer as they feel it will assist them to gain the career or promotion they desire. And people may volunteer for social reasons. They may wish to network with people who share common goals or gain new friends. Lastly, people may volunteer to help protect themselves by reducing their own negative feelings or to have temporary escape from their own problems. Another study found that volunteering contributes to improved well-being, including better self-esteem, psychological health, and happiness. The serendipitous byproduct of volunteering for me is that I've met people who have become friends. I've developed as a person and learned new skills. I also have had some amazing opportunities because of being a volunteer with Rotary that I would not normally have had. And I'm motivated by a desire to give back to our community, to use my skills to meet with like-minded people, and to have fun doing it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jerry. That's perfect and timely, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's weird.
Hang on here.
I'll have to check out the Elks Club.
I can help you with that. I belong to them.
Oh, do you? I didn't know that, Anita. Right on.
It's
No,
a
they're
world after all. So
small
let's go to introduction of guests. And I think we have one guest, at the
So,
very least
Mark, we
two.
have our presenter, Karen Link, joining us this morning, and I will do a bit more of a formal introduction just before her presentation this morning.
Wonderful. Thank you, Daria. Welcome, Karen.
President Mark, I have 3 of my children with us today, including Rebecca. She will want to make a special point of coming to the club this morning.
Oh, very nice.
The wave, guys.
Welcome, children of John, including Rebecca.
I love that. Hey, Susanna.
And Natalia. Welcome, Natalia. So for our guests, let us do the welcome song.
Welcome to Rotary, glad you are here. Come shake our hands and share a friendly cheer. Whether from near or whether from far, we're glad you're here. We hope that you will like our little song because we're proud of St. Albert, and you'll agree our club enjoys some great camaraderie. So we do what we can to help with the needs of our community with our friends at Rotary. With our friends at Rotary.
Excellent. Well, you can tell that the bouncing ball put on a little pandemic weight, so it's getting a little slower. So we're gonna have to get him on a workout. Without further ado, let us go to our guest speaker. And Daria, I will hand off the introduction to you, please.
Thank you, Mark. So Karen is the Executive Director of Volunteer Alberta, whose mission is to strengthen Alberta's nonprofit sector organizations through knowledge exchange and strategic connections. Karen is at heart a community builder. She has expertise in cross-sector collaboration, partnership brokering, system design, change, and project management. She has volunteered and worked for, with, and in the nonprofit sector for more than 30 years. Her passion is mentoring young leaders of the future. So welcome, Karen, and I will share your presentation in a second here.
Thank you, Daria. And good morning, everyone. I'm inspired that you do this regularly. And I'm also inspired because I actually happen to keep hearing from others who have presented to you over the last few weeks or a couple of months, and they're like, oh, I did that in October. Oh, I'm doing that next week. So I feel like I'm in really great company, and I want to applaud you for bringing in some really great thought leaders to just share ideas with and always keep yourselves thinking. That's fantastic. And Jerry, I want to add to the value of volunteerism. I don't know where the stat comes from off the top of my head, but they've actually ascertained that volunteering extends your lifetime. It actually, people who volunteer live longer because they're part of something bigger than themselves, because it brings that part of the heart to their lives. So there's lots of fantastic things about it. And I was thinking about, so today we're talking about youth volunteerism and how do we engage youth. And these are the youth who are actually our future leaders, and they're literally changing the world. So when I think back to when I was young, volunteering always just seemed to be part of my life. My grandmother volunteered for the Catholic Women's League. I don't know how many of you remember that. That was just what they did. They did rummage sales. They helped with sick. They helped make food for folks who, if someone just had a baby, they visited. They helped out where they needed to. My dad was also involved in the church.
There's a squeal there somewhere.
Pardon me?
There's a squeal.
Oh, hold on a second. That would be my new puppy and her toy, which I've taken away. Thank you, Anita, for telling me. I didn't realize you could hear it so well. It's gone now. Yeah. And I was just saying, my dad helped out in the church. My mom was, she was a Girl Guide leader. And then I started really young because I also joined Brownies and Girl Guides, and we started doing community work. And then as I entered my teen years, I started to branch out into thinking about what do I want to do when I grow up? So I helped out in auxiliary hospitals and then helped out in elementary school. And then once I figured out I wanted to be a teacher, then I got involved in the Boys and Girls Clubs, and it went on from there. So I think that I volunteer because it's just a way of life. And it's as much a part of me as is my personal and professional life. And I suspect it's the same for all of you. You're involved in Rotary because there's probably a lot of common reasons and a lot of individual different reasons. So volunteering, I'm going to argue, is actually in our DNA. It's part of the way we live, and it's a very Canadian thing. I remember years back, I had a boyfriend who was in Germany, and I thought, well, I can't really speak the language, but I'll go over there and try living with him for a while, and I'll learn the language while I volunteer. And I tried in vain to find somewhere to volunteer, and they were so suspicious of this activity that I literally couldn't find somewhere that would take my time at no cost to them. They thought, why would anyone want to do that? So it's a very interesting cultural phenomena in Canada as well. So Daria asked me to present today on youth volunteerism and what we know about engaging them, and to have an exploration of opportunities for Rotary and Volunteer Alberta and other volunteer centers, which I'll tell you more about, to work together. So Daria, we can go to the next slide. So I just wanted to just give you a little bit of a check-in on what we know about youth and what we know about volunteerism. So to start with, about 50% of Albertans, or 1.6 million people, volunteer. That equates to 262 million hours of volunteering, or 134,000 full-time jobs. It's incredible. I like this little chart here. I got this from Vital Signs, an annual report that comes out of the Edmonton Community Foundation and the Edmonton Social Planning Council. But it speaks to the different ages and how we see the variation. And look at the volunteering rate for young people, 15 to 19, and the approximate hours that they're working on average for a volunteer shift. And then I think it's interesting because where we don't have the stats here on the numbers, we know that lots and lots of parents volunteer with their kids in clubs and in sports particularly. And then we see, again, a resurgence once folks retire, that they have a little bit more time and want to keep giving back. So there's volunteering really is a way of life in Alberta. I thought some of you may be interested to know, because it's been in the media quite a bit, that when we have situations like a pandemic, lots of people want to help, which is a fantastic thing. And you might have heard, there's so many people who want to volunteer. Why can't we use them? And what we see in when we have a surge like this, it's called episodic volunteering, is that there's a huge supply of volunteers and there's a decrease in demand. And this is consistent across Canada. And the decrease in demand by organizations during COVID has particularly been because they have reduced capacity themselves. And so they're worried about taking care of their own staff and their own clients, never mind onboarding new volunteers. And B is that they really had to be cautious about following health regulations and ensuring they're keeping everyone safe who is working with them either on their premises or somehow externally for them. So what I wanted to recognize to you is that we've been involved, Volunteer Alberta's been involved with Rotary, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that for quite a few years now. But I've never seen Rotary step up to the plate like they have since the pandemic. We have bi-weekly calls with Alberta Health Services. At the beginning, they were every single week. And I'd never seen Rotary as a significant player at that table. So it's the players like the United Way, Rotary, the 211 service, the government of Alberta, multiple ministries, including Culture, who supports the volunteer sector, and Alberta Health, and ourselves, and some other strong players but Rotary's been there every single call. And it's Mary from Calgary, and I don't know if any of you know her, but she's been representing the voice of Rotary and trying to ensure that Rotary is an integral part of both response and recovery from the pandemic. Next slide, Daria. So what are we seeing as far as youth engagement itself? So you saw those stats before, but actually it's interesting to note that right now, 1 in 4 Canadians, a full 25%, were born between 1981 and 96. So if you do the quick math, you can see that they're around 30 to 40 years old. That's a huge chunk of the population. It's actually the most diverse generation we've had in Canadian history. And when we talk about diversity, it's not just cultural, it's also socioeconomic, it's also gender diversity, it's educational level diversity. So it's a really interesting, well-rounded group of folks. 40% of millennials volunteered in the past year, and 49% in Edmonton, that's the Edmonton region, volunteered in the past month alone. So it's a really active group of people. 4 in 10 of these millennials believe that when people work together as a group, they can make a big difference, which is what we see. And that's a big motivation for them. It's also interesting because I often talk to organizations saying, I don't know why we can't attract and keep volunteers. This group, more than any other, wants flexible hours so they can fit volunteering in around other things they're doing. So remote tasks or virtual work like writing or researching and things like that, calling, etc., can be very important and really works well for this group. And I'm not sure if you've heard about the call lines for seniors to help reduce social isolation. This has been one of the biggest calls for volunteers that have received response from Albertans in addressing their needs during the pandemic. It's super heartwarming for me to hear that. So I can go on, Daria, to the next slide, please. So why include youth? Some organizations think it's just a lot of work because I'm not willing to bend to what their needs are. But youth tend to be as inspirational to us as we are to them. So they bring with them fresh ideas and insights. Often if we let them, they can be super innovative in the way that the way they think about things. I work with a whole crew of young people, and it's fantastic sometimes to me. Like, they're my IT experts. They remind me to get out of my own way in my thinking. And if I stand back and allow them to inspire me with their fresh new eyes on things, it's really helpful. And likewise, I tend to find myself reminding them that there's some wisdom in age as well, because we've lived a long time. And so there's a win-win on both sides. So that's the reciprocal learning part. They gain knowledge and experience from us, and organizations can be inspired and learn from youth. And finally, there is, like it or not, a shifting of power. We have been holding leadership roles, many of us. Some of you I can see are younger, some of us are older, but there is a gradual shifting of power. And we want to be able to position youth as the future leaders of our communities, of our country. And we want them to use their passion and their skills in building these better communities. Daria, next slide, please. So I'm going to just talk a little bit quickly. Daria's already mentioned a little bit about who's Volunteer Alberta and what we've learned from engaging with youth. And we made a commitment to youth quite a few years ago, based on the needs of our members and the nonprofit sector at large. So Volunteer Alberta is 30 years old. 30 years ago, probably 35 years ago, the province gave money to each of the municipal governments across Alberta to incentivize and support volunteerism in their communities. And often this went in through the FCSS departments of municipal government, which is Family and Community Services. And sometimes over the years that's stayed within the municipal government. And sometimes we found that volunteer centers were created and they became organizations onto themselves. And then they had to compete for funding with other community organizations. And sometimes they're completely independent and do their own fundraising. But generally speaking, there's now 26 official volunteer centers in communities across Alberta. And these organizations help, again, encourage volunteerism, and they also support volunteer organizations in their communities to be able to better to engage with volunteers. And that's the role that we play. So at Volunteer Alberta, we are identifying, creating, and strengthening these pathways to volunteerism. And it's everything from supporting the province-wide police information checks for when you volunteer with vulnerable sector. That's one of the roles Volunteer Alberta does, to developing tools and services, to convening conversations between like-minded groups and encouraging regional networks, provincial networks, and we're also part of national networks supporting volunteerism across Canada. So our members identified youth engagement for a number of reasons over 10 years ago now. And they said, we need to be able to do this better. And it was particularly important in rural communities where they find, and this has been a thing with post-secondaries, youth get pulled away to go into post-secondaries, and sometimes they return and sometimes they don't. But generally, communities find if they can engage their youth early, they can be meaningful contributors to their community, and they're more likely to remain in their community and raise their families there and make it a part of their full lives as well, staying there. So youth was very important. Daria, next slide. So we actually created a program with advanced education also about 9 years ago now, called SKIP is the acronym. Some of you may have heard of it. It stands for Serving Communities Internship Program. And what we did was we found internships for over 1,000 post-secondary students in nonprofit organizations across Alberta. And they did projects, not administrative work, but special projects, often events, sometimes seasonal things in the summer. And they did it for non-credit, not as part of their school program, just because they wanted to give back, often because they wanted to gain work experience in an organization, being able to apply what they're learning in school and help out. So the SKIP program was wildly successful. There was a huge demand for it. And unfortunately, with all of the budget restraints that started happening a couple of years ago, last year, Advanced Education withdrew what they call the administrative support for that, and they kept the award. So at the end of the, usually around 100-hour internship, the students were, when they completed it and signed all the papers, they received a $1,000 award to help support their education or their living expenses during post-secondary. And so we were no longer able to offer that program. It's funny because we were actually about to expand the program. And then since COVID, because that was last February, then COVID hit in March, and we've kind of had to take a couple of steps back because other things took priority. But we're still super interested in that. Concurrently, we reached out to the Government of Canada, and I'm not sure if you are aware, but with our young Prime Minister, he created something called the Canada Service Corps, which was the way of getting youth engaged in communities, whether it was through the nonprofit sector or private sector, or just independently, and even through the public sector. And so we applied for funding through the Canada Service Corps, and we saw a need to get more youth on the boards of nonprofit organizations. So we created a program and pitched an idea called Youth at the Table. And this is on the previous slide, you saw the Youth at the Table logo. And that was where we were able to place 25 youth usually the focus was on somehow marginalized youth. So they were youth that were either in rural communities, or possibly visible minorities, or possibly from had a different gender orientation, or maybe from an Indigenous community. Not exclusively, but that they wanted to make sure we had a good diversity of youth. And it was so successful because one of the things we did differently is we brought them together and we had them work with each other. They were a community practice. They met regularly. We set them up with a mentor in the organization. So there was cross-generational learning from each other. So it was an incredibly successful program, and we got a second year of funding now, and we continued with 30 youth as well in the sector. And we were quite inspired with Rotary's commitment to youth, which has been there for a long time as well. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit too. But what did we learn, and what have we learned from the years of engaging youth at Volunteer Alberta? So a few things, and I think you've nailed a few of these really well. How do you do outreach to youth that is youth friendly? So literally going out to platforms, using platforms that they use, social media platforms, not just Facebook. They don't actually use Facebook very much compared to our generation or some of the older folks. But how do you get out there? How do you get out through Twitter? How do you get out there through Snapchat? How do you reach them? They can reach each other. There's a great viral effect. Get out to where they are. Go out to the schools, go out to their events, and find a brand that really appeals to them. They love logos. They love slogans. We've created, I'm just going to show you, where is it now? Don't know. We've created all sorts of books and t-shirts and mugs and things for youth to use for the youth at the table. The second is making them feel welcome. We've learned that if you invite them to your meetings and events, not just the program that they're part of, but the broader, they really appreciate that. They appreciate being provided training opportunities and making resources for their learning accessible anytime they need to use it. They also explore being able to have opportunities to support each other. And that's kind of that community practice that I told you about that we've been really successful. Providing mentors, bringing them on in pairs on a project, just not individually. Fostering dialogue is another thing that they like. How can we make opportunities to hear youth, not just for them to hear us, but for us to hear them? Be clear on your expectations when you work with them. They want to know that they're going to be successful and meet your needs. Check in regularly, giving them feedback on where they're succeeding and where there's opportunities for development. Because remember, a lot of youth are in it because they want to build their skill set so they can apply it in a work situation. Providing flexible opportunities. We talked about that. Acknowledge that they have their own personal lives and their professional lives. So being willing to work around their needs. I think that's something that certainly, even in my workplace, like when I first got there, I thought, well, I came kind of from a government or a private sector background where you start at 8 or 8:15 and you go till 4:30 or 5, and that's just the way you do it. And when I got there, they had a flexible work schedule. Some people started as late as 9:30 and worked until 6:30 or 6. And I thought, really? Are you really going to work? And when I watched them for a couple of months, I realized how important this flexibility was to them, to be able to have good life-work balance, to be able to support their kids in the morning, to be able to sleep in, because some of them stay up late gaming at night. But they love it. It's always the number one valued benefit is this flexibility that they have. Creating these safe spaces for youth to voice their thoughts. Kind of the same thing that we've talked about before, fostering dialogue. Level the playing field. Don't worry about the generations. Everyone has something to learn from each other. We also we learned that being inclusive is really important. As I mentioned before, not only generational diversity, they want to meet people of different genders, different cultures, different abilities, different socioeconomic status and education levels. Diversity is really meaningful and really important, and it is just part of the way their lives go. And finally, we learned about that it's important for them. They have this uncanny way of seeing whether you're showing up in an authentic way. Are you being genuine? So youth want to feel that they can be meaningful contributors and that we will allow them to have some impact. And we want to make sure that we are being truthful and honest with them, and that we give them tasks that reflect their interests and their abilities. Daria, next slide. So Volunteer Alberta and Rotary have been involved in conversation around youth since I started my role 2.5 years ago. And I suspect it went on before then because of the some of the projects I'm going to tell you about. We've been meeting with Rotary Alberta North and Alberta South to map out opportunities for collaboration starting back in May 2019. And we've also mapped out twice more since then, thinking about initiatives that we can be involved with. One of the most exciting ones, which I hope that you know about, but I'm not sure how word gets out through your sector or through your clubs, is something called the IAVI Global Youth Summit. IAVI stands for the International Association for Volunteer Engagement. It is an organization that is alive and well in 6 continents around the world. And it is really around engaging folks in volunteer work, regardless of where they are. And once every 10 years, IAVI has a global youth summit. Edmonton bid on this project 2 years ago to try to host it in Edmonton. It was supposed to be in July 2021, but the pandemic has pushed that by a year. We invited Rotary to the table right from the get-go, not only because Rotary is committed to youth engagement, but because Rotary is also an international organization. And we thought, what better fit than to work with Rotary International to talk about this opportunity and to bring Rotarian youth to Edmonton from around the world to meet with your clubs here in the Edmonton region or in other parts of Alberta, and to talk about Rotary's work internationally. So Rotary has been at the table, and we're super excited to say that with a partnership that Volunteer Alberta has with McEwen, we're looking at hosting the Global Youth Summit, which brings about 500 youth here. And we're hoping we can still do it in person, but it sure all depends on the unknown future. Next summer, not next summer, the summer after that. So fabulous opportunity. And the next bullet is around something, and Daria, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that Rotary recognized youth in a significant way and in something unprecedented. Was it October 2019? Does anyone know? Mark, can you? So my understanding is that I think it took place in Boston. There was a decision made that the Rotaract clubs, I believe, were going to be recognized as clubs, not just programs. So that gave youth a more, I guess, recognized role within your club. Does that ring bells with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if it was October, but that's definitely the case.
Yeah. So we were super excited to hear that. And at the time, we put in a proposal working with Rotary to think about, well, so we heard from Rotary Alberta North and South, that one of your goals was to get youth on boards of every Rotary club in Alberta within 2 years' time. And we said, we have a program about getting youth on boards, youth at the table. Let us work with you to do that. And so we pitched something which I think kind of missed the mark. And it could be, sometimes you think you make assumptions about what's going to be meaningful to Rotary, and we didn't quite get it. And then the pandemic hit, and we're still super interested in knowing if we can support in any way on getting, and maybe you're doing it already. Like we heard, youth are involved. We're good in that regard. That's awesome. But we've also got great best practices that you can work on. So there's some things that we think we can still do together. Daria, can you go to the next slide? So this image you see on the right, Engaging Youth in Nonprofit Governance, is a good practice guide that we developed as a tool for the Canada Service Corps project, Youth at the Table. And so this is available electronically. If any of you, if your club would like to take a look at it, this is really all around what works and what doesn't work in engaging youth. It would be awesome if you had youth working with you to actually take a look at this and see if they concur with this. Because this was written largely by the youth who are involved in our project. But we'd, looking at, does your Rotary want to be a test site for doing new and unusual things with youth? We'd love to be able to support you in that. We've got a Youth at the Table team of unbelievably inspiring young people, 3 of them, which are incredible thinkers. I can't imagine the kind of leaders they're going to be when they grow up, but they're passionate about youth engagement. They've got Volunteer Alberta involved in a group called Taking It Global. And this is about when you scale up an idea that youth have and making it available across the world or in different parts of the world. So we want to invite Rotaract youth to take part in a grant writing workshop if that's valuable to some of the youth involved with what you're doing. It's I actually can get the date for you and I'll send it to Daria. I don't have it at the tip of my fingers, but I'm going to put a link in the chat box on a list of resources, and I think the date might be in there for hold on, did that go? Yeah, there we go. So I put that in the chat box. So we put a link of different kind of resources, and I think the Taking Global grant writing workshop is in there as well. So if any of you want to grab that from the Google Drive. And I'm just seeing what did Charlene say here? You have a new Rotaract club. Ah, is Laura on the call?
She is, and she's on our board as well.
And Laura, you've got your pup with you.
Yeah, I'm just dog sitting and he thinks he's anti-sitting down. And
Yeah, I have a golden. My golden puppy was what was making the squeaky noise.
but yeah, I'll definitely give that link a look to look at those sources. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and the good practice guide is actually on the Volunteer Alberta website. So if you just look at it, youth will come right up at the top because we're just doing so much stuff with youth.
Perfect.
And as I said, our team is available. So Daria, I was watching the clock. I know we didn't start, I think we've got what, 5 minutes left?
Yeah, it's okay, Karen, you can finish up. We have time.
Okay, so really, I want to open it up for a conversation because I understand that, and this is a great segue, Laura, for knowing that you're on the board and you're doing this work, but where do we go from here? So Daria, the last slide is just really thinking about where are you as a club excelling around engaging youth? Or are you experiencing any challenges or barriers where you think, I wish we could do this other thing, or we're frustrated because of this others. And so how would you like to incorporate youth more? And when you think about the work that we do in working with community organizations and supporting volunteer engagement overall, youth engagement particular to this conversation, can you think of any opportunities? What did you think about the IABI idea? What do you think about St. Albert hosting a couple of folks from different countries here during the summit? What's going on for you? Just interested in a conversation now for the last couple of minutes. I'm going to monitor the chat too in case people want to talk that way.
Karen, I think one of the things our club has been, missing is our youth. Our exchange program has been put on hold. So these are great opportunities, and hopefully we can start getting students from other countries by the time this stuff is going on.
Charlene, have you guys thought about engaging virtually? I mean, I know it's not the same as being here, but we've just had incredible success. I mean, youth are all over virtual stuff. They don't feel the same barriers I do, for example. So I'm just wondering if that's something, even to kind of feather the nest before they come, if you have individuals identified.
Is
Yeah.
Maddie here this morning?
That would be a great idea, Karen. We have been working on some stuff. We stay in touch with the students, but we haven't got the names of students coming in anymore because that's just not happening. So,
Yeah.
But we have past students that we work with quite regularly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Laura, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot by saying, do you have a particular role to play?
On the board, I am the Rotaract representative, so I'm the Rotaract chair. So I basically keep the club updated on what the club is doing. But I also sit on then the Rotaract club board, and I'm on the board for the St. Albert Music Festival as well as their marketing chair. I don't know what their title is officially. So I'm definitely plenty involved, and I'm part of every conversation that's happening. So we're here.
That's awesome. And in fact, now that you said that you're part of the Rotaract board, I think I recognize your name.
Oh, probably.
Laura's past president from the McEwen Rotaract Club.
Yeah.
Ah,
I was president of them last year.
awesome. So when you think about some of the things that are getting Rotaract excited right now, can you comment on that?
Right now, my focus has just been trying to build a club. So I'm still trying to figure out what's going on in the Rotary International world for Rotaract. But I do know that Rotaract clubs are still going strong. Shh, not the squeaky toy right now. But we are, I know there's lots of projects still happening. And I know that there's lots of, like garbage cleanups happening over the summer. Still lots of little, auctions, wine draws, stuff like that. So they haven't stopped going. We're figuring it out. And because we are more familiar with technology, I think it's a little bit easier, which is where I think it benefits Rotary clubs to be talking to their Rotaractors and seeing what they can bring to the table right now.
Yeah, totally agree. It's amazing what can happen online, really. Mm-hmm. What about the rest of you? When you think about engaging with youth, is there something you wish could happen or wish might be different?
Other than pandemic go away?
Well, God, yeah. It's disconcerting. I just read the news again yesterday. I was out of town for a couple of days. I'm like, okay, new measures effective today. Okay. Yeah.
We are, sorry, Karen, we are doing some work with the high schools and Interact clubs, which is at the high school level. And we're having difficulty engaging at that level just because of everything that they're going through and having to focus on delivering school programs and keeping the students safe and all of those things. So we're hoping that maybe early in 2021, we might be able to engage there, but starting early and then engaging through Interact, Rotaract, into Rotary and beyond.
So really looking at that pipeline of bringing people in early, getting them engaged, bit of a transition as well. So that's really wise. And sometimes that's you kind of have to trust that they also have a really strong sense of what the future needs to have. And I just say again, because I'm sure it happens to me, is I have to stop. I have to get out of their way, because sometimes I think I know, and sometimes I do know, but sometimes I don't, and they know better. And so even testing things that you think may sound just completely not possible, or no, that's not going to work. I know it's not going to work. We've tried that. Let them try it, because you only learn from failure and then you move on. So testing. Like we call it prototyping. Just try it. Just like, what do you have to lose? Especially right now, really anything goes, and you'll be surprised. You find the most interesting little opportunities where you may have not been looking. Jackie, to your point, Do you find an activity first and bring youth together, or do you bring youth together and then find an activity? It is a beautiful blend of both. You have to find something first, and you may actually get ideas from youth, but don't bring the whole group together first. Find an idea that may appeal to them because it's unusual, because it's edgy, even if it's got a technological aspect to it that is popular with them right now. Just that alone can be an incentive for them to join. And it doesn't have to be the full group at the beginning. Just start with a few early adopters, bring them together with an activity that you think would be interesting and inspiring. But as soon as possible, start to engage them into identifying what would be meaningful for them to do next. So and just allow that, again, allow that to happen. They can influence what is valuable to them, get them to check out with some of their friends, would this be valuable? So let them do the work, let them do the thinking, and then try it. And then assess it. Like we very often assess, we say, okay, we call it a post-mortem. What worked well about that? You know, what was inspiring to you? What could we have changed? All right, do it again or do something different. Okay, how much of it do we keep the same? Let's keep 40%. Well, the other 60% will be different. Try it again. And then just keep refining, right? And they love to be part of that. And they love to be part of the assessment on the planning part and did it work? And then that's a really great learning tool. And having them part of that and even dividing up a bigger activity, and Laura probably knows this, you know, if you're doing an event, have a team working on something, have 3 or 4 working on something else, have 2 working on something else, bring it together, talk to each other about what worked and didn't work. Have them plan as much as they I trust Laura does this, as much as they can. Yeah, I'm sure she does. You know what? That sense of humor is super important. So keep that up, you guys.
So, I have a follow-up question
Yeah.
for you, Karen. And this is just a very general question, but when it comes to youth engagement in the big wide world, do you find that new Canadians coming are more likely to volunteer to immerse themselves into Canadian culture, or is it those who have been brought up and live here, or is it a mixture of both? I ask that question because is there a point in time that we need to target or to bring people together for a particular opportunity?
That is a great question. And I could talk at it at quite length because another one of my passions is working with new Canadians and making them feel that it's a welcoming, inclusive place that they've come to. So it depends what culture. There are many, many cultures, particularly African cultures and Asian cultures, who informal volunteerism is part of their lifestyle. They are less inclined to understand the formal systems, nor see the value in having a formal system. Like, why do you need to sign up, or why do I need to join a club to be able to help? I just help. That's what we do. Where you need me, I'll come help. So sometimes they're not counted in as far as official volunteer stats. And we're really understanding now the value of informal volunteerism or civic engagement overall. And I don't mean the political civic engagement. I just mean being part of community stuff that is valuable to you, where you can contribute in a meaningful way. The challenge for new Canadians is often skilled newcomers need volunteerism, formal volunteerism, to get the work experience that they can't get because they don't have Canadian work experience, so they won't be hired. And we need to provide them opportunities to do that. I think that the youth, especially if they're first generation Canadian, they come into our systems usually quite seamlessly, especially if their parents are open to allowing them to go out and to do things. It's the adults that come as adults, usually the parents, who have a more difficult time transitioning in. And the last thing I'm going to mention is that the beauty of folks coming together new Canadians, multi-generational, we're all new Canadians at some point, but the various groups coming together is an incredible way to look for common ground and where we have common contributions to things that are meaningful. So it is an amazing and one of the most powerful ways of bringing groups together and eliminating differences between people when we have common interests, regardless of any diversity, whether it's cultural, gender, socioeconomic, doesn't matter, when we're all working for common good. So it's a very, very powerful tool to bring people together. And I just want to say, if you don't already know this, the most responsive cultural group to the Fort McMurray fires of a couple of years ago were the Syrian group, because they were the ones who felt that the community here in Alberta poured out and welcomed them in their time of need. And it was their responsibility and their honor to give back. And it was the first big opportunity they had to give back as a community. And help agencies were overwhelmed by the response from the Syrian community. So it just gives you an example. I mean, that when I heard that, it just actually brought tears to my eyes. In Edmonton, there's the Mennonite Center for Newcomers, the largest community newcomer agency in Edmonton. They canceled their award ceremony because of the fires and because there was an overwhelming output from the newcomer communities to help support those in need. Like it's incredible. So yes, Jackie, there's great opportunity for lots of reasons.
Karen, I just wanted to, you talked about being in Germany and volunteerism. It is one of the things that we've learned through our exchange students that come, and they do a ton of volunteering when they come to Canada, but they are amazed that people let them into their homes, that people let them come and do things, because it's not culturally acceptable a lot where they come from. But the great part is when they go back to wherever they come from, they take that volunteer mindset with them and do amazing things.
It's, I think we can help influence other cultures as well, just like other cultures are influencing us around informal volunteerism and just helping neighbors, people helping people. It's also something we do, but I think in an urban setting, we've lost a little bit of that. That certainly was much more common in rural settings 50 years ago when everyone came together to help, because that's what you had to do to get things done. And so it's lovely to see that. And there's certain neighborhoods where you see more of that. Even some of the apps that have proliferated during the pandemic, like Nextdoor, don't know if you have that in St. Albert, but it's an app where you're connecting with people in your community and people just post things. They say, hey, like plumbers, electricians, carpenters were saying during the pandemic, if you need housework done, I'll come in, I'll be super safe. Don't worry about it. You can. And it was like volunteering to come fix things when people were scared to have other people in their homes. Like it was just really, it's a lovely outpouring of neighborly. I think that's one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that we've kind of reconnected with our own families, with our neighbors in a different way.
We have one last question for Karen. Amazing discussion, and thank you so much for your presentation, Karen. It was lovely to see you again, and thank you for taking the time to join us this morning.
Thank you all, and thank you, Rotary, for what you do. It's you're an incredible group, and you're very inspiring to many people. So thank you, Mark, thank you, Daria, for stick handling things with me. Great to meet you all.
And Karen,
Thanks,
as
Karen,
a thank you for your presentation at our meeting today, we will be making a contribution, a donation in your name to the Rotary International Polio Plus program, a worldwide program focused on polio eradication. So this certificate, Daria will get to you after this meeting. And so thank you again.
Thank you. And I loved the little welcome song, you guys. It was like the cutest thing ever. Thank you so much.
We're just cute as the button.
Oh my God, you are. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Karen. So this is in the wrong order, but Doug, you had some updates from the community service meeting last night.
There, you're good.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you see me?
Yeah, you're in the temperate.
Oh, all right. Okay. Here are some quick updates from the community services that took place last night. First, under the leadership of Ash Khan, we will be participating with the food bank. The committee had in its budget $2,500, and that will be used to buy some presents. Ash can correct me, but I don't think we'll be doing the regular go buy presents, so we're just going to buy them. And we're also going to be involved with the assembly of hampers. That's going to take place on Sunday, the 20th of December. And we will be helping with the handing out of items on the 21st. So we will be looking for volunteers who want to be part of that. The second thing is we had a discussion on how we can go about to recognize Flora Fitness. And one of the suggestions is that Flora's grandchildren were heavily involved in the lemonade stand day for the Stollery. And so what we're going to do is that we'll get back to the members. Community Services is going to honor Flora by a $250 donation to the Stollery through that lemonade program. And that we will get out to our members, our Rotarians, and let them know how they can make a contribution to that fund in Flora Fitness's memory. And the third item would be relative to the Salvation Army kettles. As you all know, for a number of years, we generally took 2 days and volunteered. There were about 20 volunteer positions. We're going to be sending out a survey, and we're going to ask members of the club what their comfort level is and if they want to volunteer to work the kettles. Most certainly the option of just going direct to Salvation Army and volunteering there is, you can do that. And the other part of that is that every year at a Christmas meeting, we would pass the kettle around and members would make an overall donation to the Salvation Army by filling the kettle. Generally, that's been close to $1,500, $2,000 a year. And so we're looking at the concept of a virtual kettle where members of the club can make a donation. What's important about it is that when we make our donations, Salvation Army takes our donations to the Scotiabank, who in the past number of years has been matching those donations. So please watch your emails for volunteer opportunities and for supporting some of the financial Flora Fitness and kettle projects. Okay, if you have any questions at all, please just contact me by email. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doug. It's a great update, and it was a great meeting last night. Appreciated the conversation. Christmas party is on the 17th, and as you probably saw from the email from Matt, it's going to be virtual and order and pick up meals from Flame Restaurant, and more details to come. Any other announcements except for Myron? I have the next slide is yours.
President Park, I've been asked if we can remind everyone that the St. City Rotary Club has their Wine Survivor fundraiser, and tickets are on sale, and the early bird pricing ends November 17th. So they're just looking for some support, especially from all the wine drinkers in the club.
Which is probably
I tried to figure out how to buy a ticket, and I couldn't figure it out, you guys. So if
So you
somebody can,
Yeah, you just have to go onto their website, www.stcityrotary.org, and there's a button that you push, and then you just fill it in.
I tried it. Thank you.
I'll get them to contact you, Anita.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for that, Jennifer.
Mark, can I add something to?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Ash.
We are definitely going to be buying presents again, like we have done for the last 30 years for the kids.
Okay.
The $2,500 that we give to the food bank is designated for the Christmas party, whether they're going to have it in-house or drive-through. So I just have to figure out how we're going to assign. As soon as I get the names from food banks, then I will assign people and see if they would help out with buying Christmas presents, like we've done forever.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Ash. Pleased to hear that we're maintaining that tradition. It's a great one. Next morning meeting guest speaker, November 20th, is Dale Monahan. He's the president and CEO of Goodwill Industries of Alberta. And Myron, you received this little gift, I believe, that you wanted to speak to.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So Elliot and Clinda were out here recently, and he left me with his Rotary Club banner from Osoyoos. They meet lunch meetings on Wednesdays, so they're back meeting in the last 2 or 3 months. I was able to get to a meeting back in September when we were out visiting them. He is going to be the president of that club in about, I think they go out, he'll be there in about 3 years as far as president. So he enjoys it. They've got about 30 members, I believe. And he's on the committee. They're doing a lobster drive-through in May. So you drive in, you order lobster, pick it up, take it home. So that's one of their fundraisers and stuff. But hello from Elliot, and that's his little club banner, which I have, and I'll present it, bring it into the club once we kind of get back meeting again. So he wanted me to share that with you all. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you for that, Myron. And our foundation moments. The architect of Rotary Foundation was Arch Klumpf, and he said the Rotary Foundation is not to build monuments of brick and stone. If we work upon marble, it will perish. If we work in brass, time will efface it. If we rear temples, they will crumble into dust. But if we work upon immortal minds, if we imbue them with the full meaning of the spirit of Rotary, we are engraving on those tablets something that will brighten all eternity. And that was Arch Klumpf. And some of you may know this, but he actually started the Rotary Foundation with $26.50. So anything is possible. Birthdays and anniversaries. Our very own Myron has a birthday on November 16th. So happy birthday to you, Myron, coming up. Ken Clark, his wife, Maria Clark, her birthday is on November 14th. And date join Rotary, Ken McCrae, on November 14th, 30 years. So a big 3-0 to Ken McCrae. Thank you so much for your many years of service, Ken. And it's that time for our Sergeant. Did you guys trade glasses or what?
If we could.
Yeah.
Now I can see better.
Nice.
And now I can't, which is good for me.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we going to start with this morning?
Oh, I don't know. Doug has a lot of comments today.
Yes, he did. We'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's unfortunate you can't hear him. I think there's something in the eggs. My computer's dying here, so just a second. How's everybody doing this week? Did they have a fun week?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah,
I think
I think
everyone had a good time.
Yeah, that's good. Oh.
Should we do Chase the Ace? I think there's some excitement about that.
Yeah, there is. What are we at this week? How many people?
Well,
I know we added a few more.
We added some more. Yeah, we had up to 22. Some people re-engaged and extended their lifeline.
That's
And,
good.
Yeah, so it was really good. And 2 more people came on board and said, "Hey, we want to be a part of it." So keep that coming. The pot's just getting bigger and bigger, and the chances are getting greater and greater as the weeks go by. So. How about we go here? So we have 22 players, and so Natalia, numbers 1 through 20, please 22 because there's 22 people.
22.
Yes,
That's hard.
It is hard.
Yes.
1 through 22. Pick a number.
19.
19.
Hey.
Oh, there we go. We have
Lucky number 19.
number 19. We have Sandra.
Sandra Fenton. Okay, well, we've got the card.
There you are.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah, the peanut gallery.
All right. All right, Sandra, here comes your 600.
You better not win again, Sandra.
Yeah, that's
Right, this
actually,
is a Friday the 13th. Our 2 luckiest members drawing a card. This game's over.
yeah.
Yeah. 9 of hearts.
That's how I feel about you, Sandra, and all the work you do.
Aw. But you're still a loser.
It's just in the cards. Sorry. Yeah. Well,
Happy.
yeah,
who's
let's do happy.
Who's happy
It's
today?
Friday the 13th. Who's happy? Anybody?
Anyone happy?
Ed, you have a big smile on your face. You happy today?
Wow, you were a miserable, grumpy bunch. Wow. Okay, how about miserable, grumpy bucks? We got any of those?
Hey, John, Mark.
Hey.
Hey, so
Go on, Ian.
I'll pay a happy buck fee, but it's more of a challenge to the whole group. So every single one of you, I challenge you all to check on your friends. If they live alone, if they're doing their own thing, check on them, please. Check on them regularly, because that seems to not be happening, and that will bring some joy to ourselves and to them. And it's important that we actually check on our friends. So they might be the strong one that's doing great, or you think is doing great, but check on them still. It's very important. That's not happening as much as it should be in Alberta right now. So check on them, and it's very important. So that's my challenge, and I would really like you all to check on your friends.
All right. That's good, Ian. Thank you for that.
Cheers.
I have happy bucks. I won a watch on cash and cards lottery, so I'll throw in
Hey.
$5.
There you go.
So the cash, car, and watch lottery now.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, no,
They're
that's good.
expanding.
Yeah, they are.
Well, good for you, Ed. Now we know you'll never be late for Rotary because you have a nice, shiny new watch.
That's right.
There you go. That's why you had a big smile this morning.
Yeah, fair enough.
All
Who
right.
else is happy this morning?
Or grumpy.
Or grumpy. Or dopey. And if you're a dwarf, let's hear it.
Yeah. One of the 7 feelings.
Anyone?
Anyone? No?
Okay,
Okay.
I guess it's on us now.
It's up to us now. We have a game, and it's on Andre. Sorry. It's
Hold on, let me
yeah,
get
we'll
this
send
to
up the picture here. And so it's a game to everybody. We're just making this up on the spot. John has no idea what I'm doing. We're sharing a screen. Technology. Slowly.
What is Andre eating?
Yes.
That
He's
is
having breakfast.
Right, but what is he eating?
Can I guess?
So,
Or is that
yeah, no, Laura, no.
Damn it.
No.
I'm not even at the same house.
Yeah, but
We
you
don't
know
care. You
your
know what's
dad.
in the pantry.
Yeah. So, 3 people. Someone guess. We're taking 3 guesses.
Bran flakes.
What, if it's cereal, what type? Be specific. I can't see the screen. So just say it out loud or write it down. Anybody?
Frosted mini wheats.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like it. Okay, what else is there?
Cheerios.
Cheerios. Okay, frosted mini wheats. Cheerios.
Porridge.
Porridge. Okay. Okay, Andre. Here we go.
Who was closest?
What is it? What were you eating? You're on mute.
Oatmeal with fruit.
Oatmeal with
Porridge.
fruit.
We'll give it
Porridge.
porridge.
There
We'll
you
give it the
go.
porridge.
Thank you, Andre. It looked really
Porridge
good.
fits.
Porridge bits. Awesome. So whoever got porridge, you owe us $5.
No, whoever didn't get porridge.
Oh, whoever didn't
you
get
owe
it.
us
Sorry.
$5.
Yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah.
better. That's more
We
money.
get more money.
Yeah, there you go. I like it.
Okay, so while we're on the screenshots, my mouse is backwards here. You know, Rotary is inspiring. It makes us think about the future, think about, you know, all sorts of various things. And particularly our speaker this morning, she really made us contemplate.
Wonder.
And you can see here that Laszlo, can you guys see this? Laszlo was really contemplating something, having a daydream of some sort.
He's serious.
Yeah, Laszlo, just $5 to you for that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I couldn't see the presentation this morning because some guy's big noggin was in my head. So, Mark, that's $5 to you.
I was here first.
Yeah, well, still, that was my view of the presentation.
Nice hair. Look at that, eh?
Yeah, you need a bit of a haircut, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm a week overdue.
Are you? Oh,
Yeah,
it's a
so-
whole week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be $5 too. Now, talking on your phone. So, Craig, Doug, got you red-handed here, or phone-handed. So that'll be $5 from each of you. We also had a telephone ring here while we were in meetings. So Robert, that'll be $5 to you. Yeah. And we wonder why nobody shows up for
Right.
breakfast.
Yeah.
We just find them.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, guys.
And finally, what's up?
Oh, I was just wondering if there's any way that we could get a hold of those Rotary masks that Doug's wearing. Is there any way we can order those or get our hands on them?
That's a nice answer, Doug.
Yeah.
He just laughed at you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Doug.
Sandra Fenton got them for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she has a sweat factory in her basement, and that's how we engage you to this club. So,
If you don't mind sweating,
Now-
ask.
yeah, our final find here goes to Kim Doring-Lindgren for what is a really wild hat.
Yeah.
Not sure what.
Planty.
Yeah, it's quite the hat. So, Kim, that'll be $5 to you, please. That's all
probably
that
a
I have.
marijuana
Yeah.
plant.
It very likely could be. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. Unless you want us to keep going.
We do have finds from the floor, but only from Rotarians, so my daughter has to be quiet.
Could I ask a question? Does
Only
Mark
if it's a
have
fine.
voice box to talk through under that mask?
A what box?
Voice box. He's got a big square out there.
Yeah, it just stays away from my face. My mother-in-law made it. Makes
There you
me
go.
feel good. I don't suck in it.
So Anita, that'll be $5 from you. Thank you.
That's fine. I wanted to know what he's got going there. It looks.
Well, now you know.
No, it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Fabric. Catches
Yeah.
all my spittle.
Do we have any other finds from the floor? Going once. Going twice.
No.
There are no
That's
finds from the
none.
floor. All right. We're out.
We're out. See ya.
See you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always entertaining. Thank you, Natalia. And don't forget to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and watch for recordings of these meetings on YouTube. Thank you very much to our guest speaker this morning, Karen Link, to the fabulous introduction of Karen Link by Daria, Jerry Featherly, inspirational moments, John and Mark and Natalia, and to all of you for being so fabulous. And remember, if you need support, reach out to your fellow club members. And as Ian said, please reach out to your friends. Lynn King is our Karen coordinator. You can reach out to her, and there are many online resources. It's okay not to be okay. So please reach out. And if you would please join me with in the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun? Thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous day and an amazing weekend. Happy Friday the 13th.
Yay.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Bye,
Mark.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah,
Bye,
have a good
guys.
weekend.
I'm from
You too,
California,
Shar.
so enjoy your winter. I know. Bye.